And we are hoping that ultimately our public school system and our charter school system will form great partnerships and would be able to work with one another to meet the needs of all of our children. Myself and our State Board of Education has always advocated for a level playing field between our public schools and our charter schools, and for strong accountability for both types of schools, including our voucher schools. And we've worked hard to make some legislative changes, though more legislation is needed, to make sure that we have strong accountability for both charters and vouchers.
Good afternoon, Dr. Zelman. Thank you for your remarks, and I too am I'm sad to see you go, and I think that Ohio's been really privileged to have such a great thinker on systemic matters. How do you manage a big system like this? I just think your thinking is some of the best. That said, what are your thoughts on multiple assessments? I know the state has the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation grant. What would they look like?
Well, you know, right now, actually our staff just came back from Stanford University because one part of the project is really working with Linda Dolly Hammond and Stanford University and looking actually at some of the work that Stanford did with 9 charter schools in the greater San Francisco area called Envisions. And there they were experimenting with how do you assess interdisciplinary thinking, how do you assess project-based learning, how do you develop student portfolios and get a sense of measuring the quality of student work through these performance tasks and portfolios. In the middle of September, we are calling together school districts around the state, and we also ask them also to partner with their local foundations. And we will be presenting to them a variety of different models that they could choose to participate in, where they will be able to experiment with this whole notion of multiple measures. We're starting with secondary school first. We're looking at not only Linda's work, but we're also looking at works for, like the Cambridge exams used by 126 countries around the world. We're looking at the international baccalaureate assessments, and we're looking at some other experimental assessments to see if our school districts want to pilot this. This work will have a strong research and evaluation component, and we hope that this work in the next year or two will be able to guide state policy development.
Dr. Zelman, you commented about the struggle among the urban school districts as far as graduation rates, and there was an emphasis on scholastic testing or what have you, with the No Child Left Behind. Where does the state stands with the urban school districts as far as creating and maintaining arts programs, like with the music and drama and dance, different type of programs? Those programs is some like extracurricular activities give students incentive to go to school and for participating in those tests because they give them opportunity to express themselves within those areas.
Well, I think you're correct that some of the negative fallout of the No Child Left Behind Act, plus shrinking fiscal resources, has encouraged our school districts and schools to eliminate programs in the arts or physical education. And that's certainly something that we've never supported or encouraged at the state level. And in fact, we have an advisory commission on the arts. We've received actually a lot of money from the National Endowment of the Humanities in my tenure here to really work about integrating the arts across the curriculum. And we have opportunities on our website in terms of our integrated management system to show teachers how to use art and music to actually teach academic content areas. We believe, for example, that the arts contain the skill set for the 21st century. Through the arts, we learn problem solving, we learn aspects of design, storytelling, synthesizing skills. So we think that this is really a component of what we want all of our students to be exposed to, and hopefully that all of our children are liberally educated.
Okay. Ms. Dr. Zelman, I was real impressed with the numbers that you've come up with. There's whoever did the numbers story here relative to the position of Ohio, and we don't always get this in the local newspapers, and we do get the bad news, but seldom the good news. But a couple of the questions that I had has to do with sex, male and female. They're the only choices we have around nowadays. And but anyways, in the university college attendance, we have a 58-42%. 58% women and 42% male on a national level, and in most major colleges. And I don't know whether that's significant relative to the birth rate in this country, but I'd certainly be interested to know what happened to this plus or minus 8% that we're talking about, and why there are more women attending college than men. And I noticed that when you were referring to teachers, you use the pronoun she most of the way through. And I don't know whether he's also should be in that category.
Right. Well, I guess I always think of myself as a teacher, so I use myself in that person. But actually, I think you raise a very interesting point. And right now, in the field of education, the whole issue of same-sex education, whether it be in elementary school, middle school, or high school, is really being debated in spite of Title IX. I will tell you, personally, I mean, there's also a growing body of literature around the education of boys. And I'm actually very interested in that because on a personal level, I have 3 grandsons. But taken aside, there are lots of school districts in Ohio that are experimenting with same-sex education as a way to sort of promote a sort of healthy role identification and supports for children as they go through the educational system. And I will tell you, I went to an all-girls high school in the Bronx in New York City way before the women's movement. And I really think that that had a tremendous impact on my life. You know, they told us that you had to be bright and smart and get a PhD and get married and have kids and so forth, which I did. So, on a very personal level, and I also taught in an all-women's college for 14 years, so I'm a little biased toward that type of education and orientation. But I think what we see happening at the college level reflects sort of the failure of